Hi, I'm Dr. Gary Motykie, and I am a Beverly Hills board-certified plastic surgeon. And today I wanted to go through Jennifer Aniston. I wanted to go through kind of how she's changed throughout the years. She's kind of an icon as far as all-American kind of natural beauty. And she's maintained that throughout the years, and I think that's sometimes a difficult thing to do, particularly when you're always being photographed and you're on television. So I think I wanted to kind of briefly go through some of the things that have changed about her face, some things she's admitted to, and try to tie those things together so we can look at some things that are just natural aging and some things that are probably altered by surgery or non-surgical interventions. One thing that Jennifer has admitted to is a septoplasty, which is sort of a rhinoplasty. If the middle part of your nose is deviated and you're having problems with breathing or the nose is crooked, it's usually related to the framework or what's called the septum of the nose. And when that's crooked, it can cause breathing problems, other issues, as well as an appearance of a nose that looks crooked. So if we look at her when she was young, even before her teens, there's a few scattered photos of her that shows that she had a much more bulbous nose when she was really young. If you watch my channel, you know that I always say the nose doesn't magically shrink. Something has to be done to reduce the bulbousness of the nose in order to make it more refined. You know, and this is a very common thing we hear, whether it's from actors, actresses, or just people in general. They'll say, oh, I had a deviated septum, I needed to correct my nose. And while I was there, they refined some things about my nose. And I think that's exactly what happened here, because the nose did definitely change in appearance after that septoplasty. So if we look at her as she gets from her teens to her early 20s, we can see that the nose, that bulbousness changed, the nose is a little straighter. Now it is still a bit thick or wide, and I'm suspicious there as to technique. She may have had an open technique, which can lead to a lot of scar tissue in the nose and leave the nose appearing kind of thick. And it takes a long time for that swelling to come down. So as we're watching her, you know, some of those changes may be related to the procedure itself. And then if we look at her again, even as she's getting into her later 20s, the nose still a bit wide, but done naturally, so it's not overdone, over pinchy, over piggy, or scooped out, but it's still, to me, a little bit thick. So I don't know, again, if that's related to scar tissue developing in the nose, or if that's what you wanted. It's possible. So I kind of wanted to go through that because there is some changes in the nose, maybe more than one rhinoplasty here. After that initial rhinoplasty, when I look at her nose and kind of as it's changing throughout the years, again, even after that initial change, you can see that the nose is changing. It's getting a little more refined. And I think in the middle part, she may have had 1, 2, or 3 rhinoplasties, and in the middle photo you can see the nose starting to warp a little bit or maybe a little crooked again. And I'm a little suspicious that maybe over time, if that septoplasty isn't stable, the nose may tend to warp again or change or become crooked. And so she may have started noticing that and wanted to fix that. As the nose is kind of warping, you go in and do what's called a revision rhinoplasty, try and fix it. And when you do that, sometimes, again, depending on the technique, some surgeons do an open technique where they cut here and take the nose apart again, which is, again, what I'm suspicious for from the first rhinoplasty. But if she's doing something for structure, sometimes they put grafts in the nose. They'll put in what's called a spreader graft or something to help support the nose, strengthen the septum, strengthen the framework of the nose. And in that case, the nose again gets wider. So I'm wondering if throughout those years what's happened is that she's had multiple rhinoplasties to fix that initial bulbous nose with the deviated septum and the crookedness, and each time she's done it, the nose has gotten a little bit wider, a little thick, so it's never really gotten super refined. And I think that's related probably to some of those surgeries that were done to correct that deviated septum as well as graft the nose to straighten it. And overall, it's still a natural appearing nose, but to me it appears a little bit wide. And then secondly, throughout those times, you may see changes because what happens when you do those rhinoplasties is the nose will swell up and then it'll kind of shrink down and swell up and shrink down and swell up. And it'll take many years sometimes if they've done the open approach for that nose to get to its final shape. So you may see her at different times saying, you know, nose looks different here, it looks different here, something's going, does she have another rhinoplasty? And it may be some of those things, just swelling coming out of the nose changing as it's healing. But I am suspicious that there was multiple rhinoplasties at some point. If we look at the rest of her face, I think she's done a great job overall. In other words, she's maintained her beauty. She's not overdone. She's not overpulled, or, you know, there's not anything that stands out as whoa, you did too much. If we look at her when she was young, into her early 30s, 40s, we see the normal changes that you see in the face, the baby fat kind of dissipating, the chubby cheeks going away, a little bit more contour to the lower face, the mid face losing a little bit of volume. I think that overall I don't see too many other changes, and I do think there was one period. What happens is as some patients or people start to lose volume in the face, they turn to the fillers and the facial fillers to add the volume back that's dissipating. And I think there is a time where she may have slightly overplumped things, and that was sometime in the 30s or early 40s. And what people try to do is fill to take up the laxity in the skin instead of doing some kind of tightening. And then they appear overplumped or poofy. And again, that's something you always want to have a mixture of tightening and filling, not overfilling or over tightening. So I think in one kind of time in her life, she may have been playing with the fillers and Botox and trying to stave off the aging process, and then had to back off a little bit, because I do notice there's some of those photos. Now, if we look at her current day to, again, her younger photos, I do see some structural possible changes in the face. Again, I think it's well done. None of what, if she has done stuff, has made her look strange or overdone. Obviously, the nose has changed. But if we look into the cheeks and into the lower face, I do see some subtle changes there, as far as she naturally has a very wide lower face or mandibular jaw area. And it seems to have refined over the years, and that can be achieved with Botox to the masseters or shrinking the lateral or the outer part of the face to get it more narrow and less masculine. And it is interesting. Other people have commented on her chin. She's always had a very strong chin, a long chin. And I do notice it does appear a bit shorter in her most recent photos. But again, that's a bigger surgery where the surgery has to go and literally saw the bone down and shorten the chin. It's possible, but it is a bigger surgery. Otherwise, I do think she has admitted to being a spokesperson for certain types of lasers and radio frequency devices, and all of those are addressing the skin itself. So the laser is more for fine lines, skin discoloration, pigmentation, sun damage. And then the radio frequency devices are more aimed at tightening the skin, trying to build collagen, elastin in the skin itself. Those sort of things help to reverse some of the signs of aging, or at least maintain so that the aging process is slower, as well as address the skin itself. So plumping it up, trying to rejuvenate the skin, and then probably, like I said, some fillers and Botox, just maintenance stuff, microneedling. I think she's done a good job with that because her skin looks radiant. Overall, looks natural. And then the one thing that I do notice that I'm glad she did, or didn't do, was mess with her brow or her eyes, because ever since she was little, she's had a heavy upper brow, heavy upper eyes, and she's maintained that. The mistake that some people make is that they feel as they're getting a little older that it's getting heavier, and they'll do a brow lift and really open the eyes up, and that can completely change your look and your expression. And one good example of that is Renee Zellweger. If you look at her, she had that trademark heavy upper brow, and that was sort of her look. And when she did some sort of brow or something to make her look younger, it changed her look completely. And so I think it's smart that she hasn't done that, and that she's just maintained that look so that she's still Jennifer. And I think if she stays on this course, I think that she'll do well, and I think she'll maintain her natural beauty. And overall, I think she's doing a good job.